This lesson we will teach you a key skill taught in Cooking Matters programming, how to cut a whole chicken. We will walk you through how to cut a whole chicken and provide tips and best practices of how to teach this lesson. We'll cover how to set up your station, how to cut the chicken, cross-contamination and how to prevent it, and cooking tips. So, going straight into how to set up our station. When we're cutting a whole chicken, you want to make sure that there's nothing else around, only the chicken. If you're going to cut vegetables or anything else, you want to do that before or after you cut the chicken and sanitize the station. So the setup for this, we're going to have a bowl with ice to put the whole chicken in, our cutting board. You also have a second bowl for the finished cut chicken. I like to put my cutting board in a sheet tray to prevent the juices from spreading. Before you start to cut the chicken, ask your participants why would they buy a whole chicken versus one that's already pre-cut. Some of the answers might be convenience, that's why they buy the pre-cut. And other answers you might get is that buying a whole chicken is going to be cheaper. The reason why we teach participants how to cut a whole chicken is because of the lower unit price and more bang for their buck. So let's get started. We have our station set up. Now you can pull out the chicken. So here we have a whole chicken. I'm going to transfer the chicken to my cutting board. So we're going to cut this chicken into 8 pieces. With a whole chicken, we have 2 wings, 2 legs, 2 thighs, and 2 breasts. To start off, we're going to remove the legs and the thighs from the carcass. So when cutting the whole chicken, there's 2 things we want to remember. You want to follow the fat lines and expose the bone from the joint. So for the leg and thigh, I'm going to take my knife and cut along this fat line here. Once I've done that, I made the cut right here, I'm going to expose the bone from the joint. It's going to be easy to flip the bird on the breast and pop that thigh out of its socket. So to see here now, the bone is now exposed. The reason why we take the bone out of the socket to give us a clear path without any resistance to take the meat off. So now we have the separated leg and thigh from the rest of the chicken. So now I want to put the rest of the chicken in the ice bowl, and we're going to work on removing the leg from the thigh. We use the same principle of finding the fat line and exposing the bone from the joint. Okay? We're going to pop it. We're going to expose this bone from the joint and cut right through. Now we have 1 leg and a thigh. Now this is a good time to take any extra skin or fat off. When you have your 2 pieces, you're ready to put that in your finished bowl with ice at the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side of the chicken. So next thing we're going to attack on this chicken, we're going to take the wings off from the rest of the chicken. So to find that fat line, you want to go underneath its wing and make a small cut until you feel that bone. Once your knife stops moving, that's when you know you hit the bone. Put your knife down, expose the bone from the joint, and cut through. Sometimes you might not get all the way through, so make another incision and just pop it out. With the wing, we can keep it whole as is. So now we're going to take the breast off. There's a couple of tips for taking the breast out. The first thing I like to do is expose them, taking the skin off. The skin's pretty easy to take off. You just peel it right back. So now we have the 2 breast lobes there. Now the breast lobes fit into a breastplate, and they're shaped just like this, and they fit in there. So the first thing you want to do is make a cut on the top of that breastplate. When taking the breast off, you want to use nice long strokes versus short sawing motions. So now I've exposed the back of the breastplate. I'm going to use nice long strokes just to peel the breast off. Really use your breastplate as a guide. Your knife is going to rest on that breastplate and you're just going to drag it along. And don't be afraid to turn it around and get the best angle. You want to make sure when you're doing this that you have a really sharp knife to make your life a lot easier. You're going to see as I'm using my knife, the meat will just peel right off. Now, a whole chicken costs a lot less than having one that's pre-cut for you. This is a really big advantage in cost savings for you to cut the chicken up yourself. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So now, just to review, we have our 8 pieces. We have our 2 breasts, 2 wings, 2 thighs, and 2 legs. Now, once you have your 8 pieces, what you have left over is the chicken carcass. Now, if you ever had chicken stock or broth before, that's made with the carcass of the chicken. So you can use this opportunity to make your own broth and extend that savings and use the whole chicken. When you're ready to cook your chicken, you want to make sure that you use a food thermometer to cook it to the proper temperature. The proper temperature for a chicken is cooking it to 165 degrees. You want to make sure that when you take that temperature, you insert it in the middle, away from the bone, so you take a correct temperature. Now that you have your 8 pieces of chicken cut, make sure participants have a plan. If they want to refrigerate it for use in the next day or 2, freeze it, or cook it for that night. Whatever the plan is, make sure that they have one. So just make sure we prevent any cross-contamination. In this class, we want to make sure that participants get hands-on experience. So consider bringing another chicken to class so participants can have a chance of cutting it up. So remember, you can use the chicken in this week's recipe. And while we're still talking about cross-contamination, remember to do all the vegetable prep before we work on cutting the chicken. Cooking Matters is all about providing tips and techniques for the participants to take home. For additional information, reference your instructor guide, flip book, and toolkit. Thank you for watching this video.